To order, and I want to thank the crowd we've got tonight. This is a little happier occasion than we have had the last few meetings. So, David, if you want to, and your basketball players. So we'll start with invocation. Reverend Robinson, would you lead us?
Kind, graceful, merciful Father, we thank you for allowing us to come together tonight to conduct the affairs of the town. God, we just thank you for such a joyous occasion to be here on tonight. And we ask, Father, that you allow this meeting to go as you have planned, and let everything be done decent and in order. And for that, Father, we say thank you. We just thank you, God, for just this wonderful day. And we pray it all in Jesus' name. Everyone said amen.
Amen. Commissioner Rose, could you lead us? Pledge allegiance.
All right.
And is recording working?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will make more comments when our town engineer is before us to speak about our drainage issues and the water line issues. But in general, the county commissioners approved $395,000 for the southern drainage project in Princeton from Pine Street, from Holtz Pond Road, Pine Street, Ballpark Road, Massey Holt Road, Walnut Street, and these funds will replace culverts, working with NCDOT to lay out the line for drainage properly, and working with the ditch through Mr. Williams Farm as well as the Hinton Farm. So we're moving forward on draining the southern part of Princeton. We had requested $715,000. The second part will go into a pool with other municipalities of $5.5 million, and we will be a party to that sometime around April through June of next year. And Mr. Clayton and Marla and myself will identify what the pool is like later. But at least we're making progress, and I want to thank the county commissioners for what they've done at this point. It took 3 meetings, but sometimes things just have to work out the way they have to work out. But there are more drainage projects that will be done in the future, and we are looking and exploring funds from the North Carolina General Assembly through DEQ and other resources available. Any other commissioners have any comments at this point?
I would just say that for the public, I'm glad we have a nice crowd here, but I just want to let everyone know that these aren't things that have just come to our attention the last few months. It's been a couple of years of hard work to get where we're at, and thank goodness we finally see some progress over on Pearl Street. And everybody's probably seen that road that got blocked off today, I believe it was. And so I know when we say we're doing things, it's hard to believe it. But now that we're seeing some equipment and some rocks and some things actually moving, I think that's a positive sign. I'm glad to see that.
So thank you for everyone who had a part to do with this, and there's hopefully more good news in drainage in the near future. We're going to have a rain events, but we want to be prepared to get the water out as quickly as possible. Any other comments by the commissioners? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to adopt our consent agenda? Is there a motion to adopt our agenda? And there are a few changes in the agenda. There will be a proclamation to the Princeton basketball program, and there will be an introduction for a new town employee by Public Works. Chad Thompson will be doing that, and there also will be added a presentation by Draper Aiden on the water line for Massey Holt Road, and a beaver removal agreement with USDA Wildlife. So April has been very busy. So did I miss anything?
That was it.
Okay. So is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
There is.
Is there a second?
There is.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Robinson, second by Mayor Pro Tem Martin. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion, the agenda is adopted. Is there a motion to adopt our consent agenda?
There is.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Martin, seconded by Commissioner Brown. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Would all basketball players that from various years, please stand, as well as Coach Cobb. Coach Cobb, you can come forward, and y'all can come
Wait a
forward.
minute, Mr. Mayor, you weren't claiming to be a basketball player, are you?
No. I'm just reading this out. They would probably not want me on the court at all. Did you play basketball?
No.
You did, Earl. You can stand. Coach Robinson, you're a coach, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It is my honor, and we have been working on this for several months, but we've been inundated by flood, and I think it's appropriate to do it tonight because our agenda tonight is not a congested agenda. So I have in front of me a proclamation proclaiming October 4th, 2021 Princeton Bulldog Varsity Basketball Day in the town of Princeton. Whereas Princeton High School has a tradition of outstanding academic and athletic achievements, and whereas Princeton High School's varsity boys basketball team has had several seasons of outstanding and impressive records, and whereas in the 2018-2019 season, the Princeton High School varsity boys basketball team had an overall record of 23-3 and won the Conference 1A championship 12-0. And whereas the 2019-2020 season, the Princeton High School varsity boys basketball team had an overall record of 21-5 and won the Conference 1A championship 12-0. And whereas the 2021 season, the Princeton varsity basketball team had an overall record of 16-1 and won the Conference 1A championship 12-0. And whereas the Princeton High School varsity boys basketball team was led throughout these winning seasons by head coach David Cobb, and through excellent leadership, the team represented themselves, their school, and the entire community with outstanding play and sportsmanship. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed that I, Dalby Raines, Mayor of the Town of Princeton, along with the Board of Commissioners, do hereby deem it an honor and a pleasure to extend this certificate of recognition to the 3 Princeton High School varsity basketball teams and Coach David Cobb. I hereby set this October 4th, the Princeton High School boys basketball team. In witness thereof, with sincere congratulations and best wishes by many more, I do by set my hand, Dalby Raines, Mayor, April Williamson, Town Clerk. So David, if you could come forward. And I've known David and Debbie most of my adult life, and we've been friends, and this is just a true honor. And David has left Princeton, come back, left Princeton, and come back. So I know Princeton is his home, and
Thank you.
so congratulations.
Appreciate it.
And if you want to introduce your players, and you may have some comments as well.
I'd like to introduce 4 guys that could make it. They've all left home, colleges, and moved on, but tonight we're lucky enough to have Jacob McCain, a member of the 2020-2021 teams, Justin Woodring, a member of the 2020 team, Harley Bartholomew, member of the 2020 team, Aiden Taylor, who is still in the school. He is a member of all 3 teams. He's been with us for all 3 years, and Miss Potts is here representing Ethan, who couldn't make it tonight, and I also appreciate the Taylor family for coming out. All this is a testament to a tremendous group of young men who do the work, put the time in, and dedicated themselves to a way of a style of play that gives us a chance to achieve some really good things. And I'm just, all the accolades belong to those boys.
This year's the opportunity to be 2A champs, right?
Well, Aiden's the only player returning. So.
Any of you guys want to make a comment, or?
We appreciate
Appreciate
the
it.
recognition.
Appreciate everything.
If we could get a photo,
Sure.
y'all will come up.
Spot you can be with us.
Commissioners.
All y'all can come on.
Get out.
Do it pretty close. I didn't stand up in the back. Well, I don't know that you told stand up like basketball players. Guys are kind of tall. Maybe we can get to the wing or something. Short,
Yeah, do that.
They're hiding. Let me see. There we go. Hang on just a second. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's good. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
They may want to learn about town. Y'all may want to learn.
That's one of the best moments to be mayor and town commissioner. That's not a hard decision. That's a reward. Persons to be heard. Okay. I'm going to ask Tyrus Clayton, our engineer from Draper Aden, and he will go over various items. If you could give a progress report on the Beaver Dam project, and then if you want to add more comments from our meeting this morning, and then obviously you have a proposal in front of us.
Right. So we'll start with some active construction we've got going on in town. So y'all probably all seen the disturbance out there next to the town community building. So the contractor has done pretty significant work on stabilizing that ditch next to the community building. A lot of the riprap's in place. There's still some work to be done there. They've shut down Pearl Street this morning and started putting together that big culvert we're going to actually dig up the road and replace the 2 existing culverts with. That should be occurring this week. Hopefully by next week we'll see it in place, and we'll actually be seeing some of the benefits of having that larger pipe in place. When they get done with that, they'll be moving towards the downtown. Actually, one of our local people here, Mike's here, he's going to be assisting with that, I think, from the helping with the boring and that. Still waiting on the railroad for some dates for some of the flagging to do some of the railroad bores. Y'all probably seen a significant stack of pipe there behind the town hall. All that's going in the downtown area. So you'll start seeing some disturbance down there. So just be prepared as people start asking, and we'll be around too to help answer some questions. Streets when we get tore up, we're gonna have to shut some stuff down. Contractors are very much aware of that. We're gonna try to keep the sidewalks as open as possible for pedestrian traffic, but we will have to shut some of the parking down there along Edward Street, just to do the work. So there will be some inconvenience to traffic there for a little while. But hopefully in the end, we're gonna see a huge benefit from a stormwater standpoint when that gets done. So that's gonna take several months before we see that completion. Contractor is working hard to get that done, so we'll be giving you updates monthly on that through us or through town staff. Chad's been very involved in that and assisting where he could with anything he could do too. So following up on what the mayor was saying, we've spent a significant amount of time with the Johnson County commissioners, Johnson County staff, the engineer and the county manager here in the last month and several weeks, I reckon. We went before them with that presentation I showed you a couple months ago. and asked for a significant amount of funding for the town of Princeton. And we presented about $3.2 million in need, with a concentration of about $715,000 for immediate projects that we would like to undertake for drainage. Through lots of discussions, and us being really out in front of everybody else for some of that money, we forced the county into a decision process, and actually they've come up with a pretty neat proposal for all of Johnson County, in that they've set aside some money to supplement each town's COVID funding that's been allocated to each town. Town of Princeton's got, what, $222,000 currently in the bank, which is about half of what you're gonna get in total. Some of the other communities got more, some got less. But the way they're gonna treat this is county's gonna basically put like a little grant program in place next year to assist the towns with $5.5 million in probably a little competitive type of grant cycle for each project. They gave us a list of questions actually this last couple of weeks, and we went through and put together a little detailed presentation this morning to show how the projects we had on South Pine Street there in Southern Princeton actually met all the protocols. They used this as a guinea pig. I'm very right proud of the Town of Princeton. We showed really well with them from an aspect of we were able to check each of their boxes of statement of needs, how we fit the model they've got in front of us for a sort of a grant application. And the county commissioners voted this morning to preemptively fund the Town of Princeton $395,000 ahead of that grant cycle. So you were the first, you're the guinea pig. So you don't have to compete for that money like the rest of the towns are gonna have to do in the near future. So we're gonna have to be good stewards of that money, make sure we spend it appropriately. But it lets us go forward with the project we've already started design on for South Princeton that DOT's already ready to help us with. It lets us go forward with that. Hopefully, the intent is to be a huge success for Town of Princeton. We do have other needs we identify with them, specifically is the second phase of the Beaver Dam project. And they were very open to us coming back before them in the spring to apply for some additional funding once we get this other project. Presented the need for some joint funding between us and the county. It's a project we've been talking to them about for probably 18 months for a joint waterline project, which I was in part of that presentation I gave y'all last time. Down Massey Holt Road, it'll extend a water line between the Town of Princeton and the Brogden Water District. It'll actually benefit the town for several different aspects. It will increase water quality for the town. It's going to greatly increase your ability to fight fires and water pressures, and add some fire hydrants on that side of town, which I think makes the fire chief very happy. He actually helped us with our presentations at a couple of the county board meetings.
And the fire marshal.
And the fire marshal also. He was there in support of the project. But it's also going to benefit the county just as much. They have an issue with water quality on that end of the system with their end. It's a dead end system. So it's a project that will benefit both parties. It's also going to provide an additional water supply connection for the Town of Princeton from the south side of town in case you have to shut the supply y'all have on the north side down. But it also provides an additional connection for the Brogden Water District for the county, so they can flow water through Princeton back into the Brogden Water District. As part of that, we're going to have to put a master meter in place. It'll measure water going both ways to track that water usage since y'all purchased water from the county. So that is an additional cost to the project, but it's a necessary cost. And that's part of what we've got in our proposal is that the engineering and some of the siding of that master water meter. So what came out of that is they agreed to fund 50% of that project. We were hoping to get more than that, but in the end, I think that was a good compromise from the county. As 50% of the money is something the town doesn't have to spend. And the biggest thing is that's going to open that area up to development for you guys. I know Marla's got several residential home builders that have showed an interest in that area over the last few years. So there is a great potential for additional taxpayers to come into that area for additional residential growth in that, off of that Massey Holt Road.
Do we know what the estimated cost on the water line?
Yeah, so we put together we've actually done two estimates. When we originally looked at that project, we put together a cost estimate which included both the construction, the engineering, and permitting. We reevaluated that before we went to the county here recently, and included some updates to that based upon, as you know, the material costs have gone up drastically. So we did update before we presented that to the commissioner board. So we were estimating that project to be right at $400,000. So they've agreed to fund $200,000 of that. The good news about that is in the last few weeks, we have seen material costs start to creep back down, especially on PVC piping. We're still being affected by supply, and that's part of why you've seen a delay in the downtown project is we're still waiting on some of that concrete pipe coming in. So there still is a material shortage, but the pricing has started to actually hopefully get back down to what we consider normal a year ago. I don't know to ever get back to what we saw 2 years ago, but it's definitely in a trending downward motion now. So the estimated cost of that water line is about $400,000 based on what we ran about a month ago.
If I understand right, they said half up to 200,000.
Up to 200,000.
So if it winds up being 350, they give 175.
Yeah.
And then if it winds up being over 4, they say we could go back and ask for more.
That's right.
Let me ask you a question, and just to kind of back up to your prior
Yes, sir.
opening statements. First of all, let me say that the work you guys have done with the rocks looks beautiful. But my question is, I noticed that just when I walked and looked, that there is still a lot of debris, a lot of trash and all that. Will that stuff be cleaned out to help the flow?
So the bottom of the ditch, which is actually a stream, we cannot do a lot of work in the bottom of it because that's considered an ecological protected area from a federal standards. That is a habitat for fish and bugs and different kind of ecological habitat. So we can't really touch the bottom of that stream. It's over time it moves and meanders and it's a living organism. So a lot of your flow comes from the actual embankment. So the bottom of that stream, we really can't touch. So we've done what we can from a federal standard as far as the embankments down to a certain level. Past where you see that silt fencing down there, without spending a tremendous amount of mitigation money for the town, we couldn't alter that channel bed. And even if we did clean it out, because we can't alter it downstream or upstream, we would have just have dug it out for it to fill back in eventually. So, no, we really didn't spend a lot of effort moving the dirt around in the bottom of that stream. Now, there's some debris and stuff we'll try to get out of that before we're done. Like I saw, there's a tire laying in there we're gonna try to pick up, That's just something we'll work with the contractor before he gets out of there. Some of the actual trash, we're gonna try to get that out.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
what I was talking about.
But as far as moving the sediment or the mud channels and stuff like that, we're gonna try to leave that as natural as possible. We have to. If you actually look, there's quite a bit of fish and turtles and animals that live in that stream bed down there.
And that also would be true of Beaver Dam Creek and the property between Princeton and Louis Smith Road,
Yes.
which I'll get into later, but there's a lot of debris and trees that need to be removed, recognizing that's a blue line stream. There are some improvements we can make.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Am I allowed to ask a question? As far as the projects and stuff that are going on and tiles being replaced, as far as Beaver Dam on the other side of Hinton Road and that being cleaned out and done versus the timing of the tiles being replaced at New Ballpark Road and Massey Road, can you give me a time frame on what's what?
So what's going on currently in downtown is under contract and actually moving forward under an actual contract timeline. What's occurring on the south side of town for on South Pine and Massey Hope and around Old Hinton, we are currently trying to finish up our design in the next 30 days. The anticipation is once we have the design completed and the agreements in place with DOT for the encroachments, we'll issue that out for bid, which is normally a 30-day timeline per standard procurement policies. We'll take in bids from contractors for public bids. The town will analyze it for low bid cost, and probably within 2 to 3 weeks after that, we'll have a contract in place, and then we're working with a
I
contractor.
guess my biggest question is this, I own the farm in the middle,
Yes.
and the beaver dam, that needs to be cleaned out before the tiles are replaced.
So
If it doesn't, if the other end doesn't get cleaned out first, all y'all gonna do is push water to me faster, and it's what I'm trying to do is not gonna do me any good. I mean, I'm getting ready to do some work with soil conservation and everything else, trying to help the situation, but I don't want it to be made worse than it already is coming, you know, because 20 years ago, my place, this wasn't an issue.
right.
Everybody wants to blame me that it's my fault the ditch is stopping up, but I'm not the problem, y'all are the problem. So I'm just trying to figure out timing wise if they're gonna fix the end and work up, or are they gonna start at the top and go down, which is the wrong way.
So Mary can probably give you a little bit of update. We're currently working with USDA also to get the beavers and some of the debris out of what's downstream from you. I don't know the exact timeline myself on how that's occurring, but I know we're having potentially a meeting later this week to talk with some of those parties.
I was under the impression that the beaver removal had already started.
No, some of it has, but as far as some of the debris removal they've identified, that's something we're actually discussing how that's going to occur today. Some of the down trees from the hurricane and that kind of stuff.
This is an agreement with USDA to remove the beavers, and it will be done perhaps next 30 to 45 days.
I can tell you what Mr. Alexander shared when he came by the other day, is he left the appropriate paperwork, gave his estimate as far as the services. He had walked, it took him a little over 3 hours. And what he found was 75% of it was overgrowth and trash, 25% of it was dams as well as active beavers that they would relocate. And as soon as we could get the form back to him, he could start as soon as the following week. So that, of course, with that being said, only 25% of it, he said it was a lot less than he anticipated. So soon as he gets that and that's approved and reviewed.
And that's from the road back, right?
That's on around the private property owners.
Okay.
And I think for the most part, I mean, we got, 80% of those back. So they were very receptive. So,
Oh, everybody I've talked to is like, yeah, come on.
So that's where he left it.
And Ronald Warris's brother has told me Ronald will sign it as soon as Ronald was able to. His wife died last week.
Heard that. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you want finished on it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
He's only started.
Okay. I was thinking you had a way to go.
Well, it's not any time for questions, so. I was somewhat finished with the drainage aspects of where we were at as far as the progress update. But as far as the water line project, what me and Marla had discussed was, with that project now being partially funded by the county, is to go ahead and bring to you guys a proposal for the engineering services part of that, but put it into a form that we could potentially add it to the existing project we have ongoing with USDA that's about to begin for the water and sewer upfits, with the intent there and potential of adding it to that package, especially with USDA fixing to increase and have the ability to increase funding here in mid-October, usually is when their budget year rolls over. There's usually an opportunity there if you have an active project and have an additional need, you can add some additional projects to those existing projects. So what I have before you is a proposed contract in a form that USDA entertains, which is an EJCDCD form. I put a cover letter on the front of it because it is a 60-some page typical governmental contract that I only fill in the blanks where they tell me to. It is exactly the same form that we used for the 2017 project that we're currently pursuing, trying to get the last permit for the wastewater treatment plant. So basically, we've laid out 4 different fees on there. The basic services fees, which includes the design and permitting of that water line. We will be working with the county engineering as part of this, because part of this is on them and part of it's on the town of Princeton. So we will have to meet some of their standards as well as state standards for the water line design. And be working with them as far as the master meter that's going to be installed to make sure it's of a model and make and of a setup that's something they will maintain in the end, not the town of Princeton. We will also have to work with them on acquiring either an easement or a small piece of property to put that on. It'll be installed in a large concrete vault and actually have an electrical service attached to it. So they'll have what's called a SCADA system so they can read it remotely. So you'll see a line item in there for electrical engineering as well as land surveying to assist with that siting and design of that system. And then the second item on the task order is our RPR, that's a resident project representative inspections. That's where we, once it goes to construction, after we bid the project, that's where we look after and do the daily inspections with the contractor and do the construction administration activities. As you notice there, I've put a asterisk, that's a T&M item for us, so that if we have a good contractor and there's not a lot of issues, we're not having to babysit them, we're not charging you to be out here. And especially if this gets rolled into the larger USDA project, we're gonna be here anyway looking at the rest of the project. The effort allocated towards just this water line is gonna be a lot less than if it's a standalone project. But we've priced this as if it was a standalone project right now as far as the estimated cost, in case we're not successful in getting it included in the USDA existing project. So that's what's before you right now. But that is the form of the contract. We've tried to set the fees based upon what USDA considers the fee curve, which is an acceptable range of fees for engineering and what the effort we think is going to be in it for permitting and the actual design of that water system.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The water line, is it typically run right beside the road, under the ditch, on the?
Well, we try to run it beside the road when we can, but it'll have to be sited based upon situations as we go down the road. Like in instances where there's culverts in the way, we may have to go under them, behind them. In instances right at the intersections, we may have to jog around existing utilities where there may be power or telephone. We'll have to go around those items. We may have to actually work with those utilities to relocate some of them if there's a conflict.
So the water line, how is it gonna, like what I was asking, I know we're getting ready to do the ditches and the culverts going down Massey Hole. Is the water line gonna come in and tear all that up a
No.
year later? It'll be,
No, we always try to keep water lines out of the ditch.
okay,
So if we can't put it near between the ditch and the roadway, we try to go over the backside of the ditch.
Okay.
And in that instance, we may have to negotiate with some property owners depending on how that lays out for easements. We hopefully not have to do that, but we never like to put them in the bottom of the ditch, because eventually somebody's gonna clean the ditch out.
mm-hmm.
As Chad can tell you, they'll eventually hit your water line.
Mm-hmm.
They love to find.
So we don't want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to prevent people from doing that and lay it either behind or in front of the ditch, but never at the bottom.
Okay, if, when we get sewer expansion, a developer wants to have sewer extended to that property, and the developer pays for all the cost of that project, would the sewer line be on the opposite side of the
More than
road?
likely, we try to set it on the opposite side of the road just to keep from having utilities close together. Standard of design in North Carolina for water and sewer is you try to keep 10 foot of horizontal separation as well as a vertical. You can get closer together than 10 feet if you get enough vertical separation. Normally, we try to keep them on opposite sides of the road if we can. It just makes it easier. You keep less conflicts that way. But as always, we also have to take into consideration the actual site impacts of where we're running it. So For instance, if there's a stream or creek in the way, which we may have to cross a couple of some ditches along the way, as you know, down that road, we'll have to go around them or above or under them. And with gravity sewer, that's a depth issue, so we'll have to plan around that. But with water line, that's the good thing about water line is you can change the elevation of a water line with very little impact to the performance of it. So we can dip and dive the water lines. But yes, we try to position those on opposite sides of the road.
Now, the meter that we'd need an easement for, that'd have to be past any annexation for subdivision out that way, wouldn't it?
It would be currently where the Brogdon water line ends in that vicinity, which is down around where Holt's Road runs back into Massey Holt Road. It'll actually be an easement to the Johnston County, not to the Town of Princeton.
Oh, okay.
And they may choose to buy a piece of property. That's something we'll work out when we would get into design and locate where that is. It'll be near, more than likely right at the corner of the intersection. Most people don't even realize they're there. You'll see a little electrical panel with a meter base and a piece of equipment with an antenna on it, and that's all you see. The rest of it's under the ground.
And as a further note, there are no fire hydrants on Massey Holt Road from Chestnut Ridge to almost you get to the Old Smithville Road. And my assumption is that once the water pressure is sufficient, the county will pay for those fire hydrants on the area that we would not control.
That's right.
But
Yeah, we did not, part of this, we did not include adding fire hydrants to their system. That's something we assume is their responsibility once this is installed. But yes, that would give them the ability to add their own fire hydrants.
Now, this, the 53.4 is part of the 400 bid
Yes.
total batch.
Yeah.
And since we only have 200 from the county, where's our plans to make up the other 200?
Ms. Martin.
That's for her.
Okay.
Well, the reason we're using the USDA contract form is so that we have the potential to add it to our current USDA project funding, whether it be loan or grant, we don't know, but we finance it through there. And then we also have a little bit of ARPA money we could put towards it. And we've also asked for an appropriation from the state legislature. So it's gonna be what comes first. And it all come in at the same time. Well, we already have the ARPA money that we can use. And then if we can pay ourselves back with state legislature money or include it in the USDA. So we have a lot of options. We just don't know which the best one is or which one's gonna be available when we get to the point of construction. I don't, what's the timeline for design on this?
We're probably looking at about 3 months between the time we start to the time we have permit.
So we should know a lot at the end of this.
But to answer your question is, county has appropriated $200,000 towards this project, and we could pay for the design out of that money.
Yeah, best I understood, they didn't give us any constraints on how that could be spent. That could be spent up front as far as the reconstruction cost.
And Mr. Hester told me personally that they would work with us on reimbursing us that money as we work through these two projects.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was worried about, because if they were gonna do up to half and we spent 53.4, they would only do half of that and then half of each thing. Is that kind of what it's gonna be?
It could be, but we have to work out where they pay for design and then we pay for, the inspections on the backside. Because the design and the survey and, the 38.4 is all we'd be paying before we went to construction. The maximum we pay before we went to construction.
And I would like to say to the board, like, I was at the meeting and just so everybody knows, I was in favor of the county, and I do appreciate the 200, but I was in favor of 100% funding from the county for the reason that this line starts out of town and goes further out of town. And it will benefit the county customers. We will be paying $200,000 to benefit the county customers. Now, yes, it may be for future expansion, that would be great. But anyway, I just felt like we are a customer of the county. Like, we're dealing with 20 plus years of water quality issues because we're at the end of the line, and to me it was almost like you go get some sweet tea from your favorite restaurant and it's got leaves floating in it, and then they say, oh, well, you can buy this filtered and you know, you can get them out as extra, and after you pay for it, leave it for the next customer so they can use it too. So it's like, you know, like we got to pay $200,000 to make their quality good enough for us to use, and then send it down the line to their customers. So anyway, that was my argument.
Because they didn't like that too well.
They didn't like that. They didn't agree with it. They didn't agree with it.
He did a good job presenting it though.
Yeah, you do.
And there are benefits too operationally, because we're gonna be able to flow the water back and forth.
Mhm.
And so instead of Chad going down to the bottom of the system and opening up a hydrant and water going into the ditches that don't work to keep the water fresh,
Mhm.
we'll just send it on down the line to them. We can just keep it moving back and forth.
Right.
And so that's water we're not gonna be paying for. When we flush it their way, we're gonna get credit for it.
Okay.
And instead of it just going on the ground for us to buy.
And I share your frustration. Today's meeting was not, I didn't get the results that I asked for, but we are making progress. So 200,000 is better than no progress. So I have the same pain.
Yeah. So it will be difficult to put in half a water line though, so.
Is there any questions pertaining to the proposal? And Marla's answered where the funding is coming from. I will like to compliment Tyrus. Good or bad, we've been on the phone at 7:30 in the morning a couple times this summer, talking to an easement issue. We've been on the phone at 8 o'clock at night. He visited downtown Chicago with me Thursday night.
He visited Georgia with me one day.
So, but he has been very accommodating, and I wish we didn't have those 2 additional meetings with the county commissioners, but it's part of reality. So, what I can say is he has represented our town very well.
It's been a joy. Don't regret it.
Well, let me just say this about overall, and that I guess I want to speak about the overall relationship with Break Parade, and obviously over the years they have helped the town significantly. Still can't believe that the money that we got, that we never thought we'd get, to the tune of like $400,000. But that it's good to deal with a company that knows something about your history and what the thought process is and what is actually needed. And so that I thank you and your co-workers for the work that you've done thus far, and believe that we'll be able to, all of the projects that we now have, that we'll be able to work to get these projects completed, and that we'll be able to show the citizens that we are doing those things that are necessary to make sure that the town goes forward. That I did have a question, not about the water line, but going back to the drainage. Now the rip wrap. Explain to us exactly what purpose that does, other than keeping the other debris from washing into the ditch.
So the rip wrap along the edge of the ditch you see?
Right.
It serves a couple of different reasons. You had some high flow events in the previous hurricanes and some of your heavier rainfalls. And I don't know if you noticed, but where the ditch turns right there in front of the high schools, prior to Chad taking over at his position when Adam was here, that ditch bank has washed out multiple times to the point that it was actually getting close to actually washing away the sewer line that runs next to Donnie Jones Boulevard. So, and there's a couple other places there that has had significant erosion over the years. So the first thing with that riprap is it stabilizes the embankments. The second part of that is it makes maintenance a lot easier. You don't have to worry about going in there and keeping your woody bushes and trees from growing up, and they're not having to spend a significant amount of time weed eating or spraying Roundup or those kind of things. And some of us think it's aesthetically pleasing also. So there's sort of threefold there. So it stabilizes the embankments, it makes maintenance easier, and allows, then to get in there and easily clean up some of the debris that does deposit there after a storm event. And then the third thing is it looks better. Looks better than grown up weeds and somewhat half-grown bushes, and tries to keep, it actually helps keep some of your vermin down, your rats and your snakes and stuff you don't want. The way we've done it, hopefully, it also has actually protected and will keep that natural channel bed in place where you've got your fish and turtles and things that need to be there and stay there. So when we get done, hopefully you'll be able to go walk out there and see that natural habitat at the bottom has been maintained, and it'll help keep that in place, and that natural habitat will be maintained at the bottom, whereas the embankments will be stabilized and a little better looking. So does that answer your question?
So now, do you think that is going to help with the flow? Because the reason I ask is that on Gurley Mill Road, as you follow the water going into the beaver dam, that I noticed that water always stays in that ditch regardless of whether it rains, and it seems to be pretty deep. So what is going to help? What are we doing that is going to help the water move forward?
Move quicker out of there?
Right.
So if you look at down there at Pearl Street, there's two existing culverts there in place right now. One of them is actually at a grade that's backwards. It means it's tipped upstream instead of downstream. The other one is, and if we look at it from a capacity standpoint, both of them together, and the storm events you've been experiencing, they're undersized. So what we're going back with is a large arch top, one single culvert. So we're increasing the capacity of that water to get under Pearl Street. That's what's going to increase the flow. But at the same time, by taking a lot of that woody debris off the side of the embankments and putting that riprap in place, and it keeps some of the debris down, that lining of that channel lets the water move quicker down the channel. At the same time, it protects it from eroding at a higher flow rate. So it lets it move quicker out of that section of town by getting it under Pearl Street quicker.
So now the cement pipe that I see over there, where is that going?
That's going downtown. They're just
okay.
They're just storing it there.
Okay.
We allowed them to use that for storage because the town owns the property. It was an easy location for them to offer instead of stacking it on the asphalt where it could tear up something.
Okay.
Are there trees that are in the embankments, like beside fields? Are they staying, or are they going?
They're going to stay. We looked at those because of the large size of those. They are actually adding some stability to the embankment, and if we try to cut those down, I was really concerned where that roots were growing underneath the foundations. And if we did just cut them off and the roots started rotting, we felt that was adding a liability to the town we didn't want to entertain right now. We felt that they were just better off left in place. Now, some of the smaller ones, of course, we've removed those. But those larger ones, I mean, they're not bad looking. They add some shade, which is always a benefit for downtown areas. And they were too close to the buildings. We didn't want to go that bad.
To partially answer some of your question, Walter, when the people that were from Libby Smith Road, even back to the waste treatment plant, when they surveyed it for beaver, there's a huge amount of debris past the railroad tracks. And so it would be our objective, as well as getting the beaver, is to get the debris out of the ditch. And there are some trees that are blocking the natural flow, and to get those trees out of place as well, so that when we get water to the railroad trestle, it could get to Neuse River quicker.
Back to the water line. Are we trying to take a vote on this tonight?
Yes, please.
Okay. I have one more question about it then. I know from time to time, as the town has grown and taken in new areas, that the county was already providing water. Then we kind of take over that water line or meter. Is that correct? And does that cost us to do that? Do we have to pay the county for that?
Yes, but we're gonna pay for it with their money.
No, I'm saying like on the fact that we were very fortunate to get this money allocated from the county, even though it wasn't as much as we wanted. And it's a project that we definitely are not gonna just sit on our hands at this point. I don't think there's any other choice but to move forward with this at this point.
So that's the motion?
So I make a motion that we approve this and move forward.
Motion made by Commissioner Rose. Is there a second?
That I do agree with Commissioner Rose, that I think that it would, well, most people would probably think that we would be crazy if we went through all the trouble we have to present this and then vote it down. So with that I offer a second.
Second been made by Mayor Pro Tem Martin. Any additional questions, comments, thoughts, prayers?
I always pray.
I always take a prayer.
Okay. If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Thank you. That motion passes unanimously. And I will move another item up the agenda since Tyrus is here. And you could stay the whole meeting, but I understand you'd like to talk to your family. You have an agreement in front of you with USDA Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service. I refer to it as the Wildlife Service. $1,775. And I did not meet with him when he came in Thursday. Lee did, so if you got any comments to add?
Yeah, other than, as I said before, max amount that would be charged, he doesn't think it would even come to that. But just as soon as the documents are signed, scanned back to him, he will start the following week. And again, he's walked it, 75% of it is overgrowth and trash. And then you have the 25% of the dams in the beavers that'll be relocated. So he doesn't feel that it'll take 15 trips to take care of something a lot smaller than he anticipated. But that's just for review and approval in order for him to move forward.
So now I'm a little bit. So is this gentleman that is making the presentation is he from,
He is with the USDA.
okay. And so the USDA will do the trapping of the
Yes,
beavers?
and relocating, yes, sir.
Oh, okay, I got it now, because I was thinking,
It's just that we don't, there's nobody local to do this particular job. He is the closest one, and he's from Sanford.
okay.
But his title is with the USDA that handles this.
And they were relocated them appropriately, and that's the last I'll say on that.
Didn't the county say they had beaver money that they would help us out with this?
This is subsidized by the county,
Okay.
so this is the maximum cost. This has got a $6,000 subsidy from the county.
So this
is the
6,000 plus this?
Yeah.
Okay, this would be our part.
If you don't vote in favor of this, then you've got to go out and get a beaver and bring it to the next town board. Yeah. I'm told some beavers weigh over 100 pounds.
I don't know if he'll be carrying them out.
There's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. I'll go ahead and sign this, Lee, while we're on the next item. Chief Sutton for the police report.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Get out of this chair.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't have a can to talk.
Good evening, I don't have much at all. The power went out last week, and I think it was a GW energizer transformer that was right near Railroad Street. I think Railroad, it was on Railroad Street between Center and Pine. But it didn't take too long. I think it was like 30, 45 minutes, maybe, well, about 45 minutes, and it was back on. So I don't know what caused it, because the representative from Duke Progress Energy, I spoke to him briefly, and apparently it was repaired after that. So I'm not sure what really caused it, but the power was restored shortly after that. Also, we had a meeting last week regarding just school emergencies and active shootings and things like that. We try to have them possibly record with Chase Farrell, which is the representative of the school. It was very informative, and just going over scenarios and emergency procedures, dealing with the students and how to evacuate and reunification processes and things of that nature. With that being said, there was a call from a crisis center that came into the 911 Communication Center in Smithfield regarding something that was put on Instagram, that there was a possible attack or active shooter at Princeton Elementary or Princeton High School. So when information comes in like that, they didn't get a lot of details going on with it, meaning the crisis center. So that information was routed to us. Of course, we was in contact with the SRO at Princeton High School, and of course we reached out to the sheriff's office to see if they had any of the same type calls, which there was some discussion on Instagram and some photos that there was going to be some issues at Triple S, which there wasn't, but it just kept circulating. We did get some information off Instagram and Facebook and trace it back to an abandoned house in Pine Level, which no one was there. So, you know, it didn't amount to anything, but of course we got to take all those precautions anyway. But hopefully, you know, whoever these individuals are, I'm thinking they're probably students. They won't be taking the time to play games like that, because, you know, we take those matters extremely serious.
So were the schools put in some form of a lockdown, soft lockdown, hard lockdown?
It wasn't a hard lockdown, we just contacted, the school officials and again, it was something that was on Facebook, not Facebook, but Instagram, but we didn't get a lot of details from the crisis center because they couldn't determine whether it was credible or not. So, if it was something that we could have, determined or ascertained whether it was actually something that was gonna happen, or we had some other information or intel to, to guide us in that direction, then we would have arranged for the school to be like that.
Now, I know they did, the middle high did do some type of lockdown, because my wife.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to see if it was a hard lockdown or a soft lockdown.
It was a precautionary type of, movement, but it wasn't a lockdown like you would get if there was an active shooter on the ground. So I think we're very fortunate with that. So like I said, thank God it wasn't anything.
Now, how
beyond
often
that.
do we, and excuse me for cutting you off, how often, or if at any time do we conduct any type of scenarios like that with the school?
The sheriffs and the sheriff's office and the police department in Wayne County, we do it, we haven't done it in the last quarter, but we used to do it quite often during the year. And we don't just conduct it at the Princeton PD level, we utilize the sheriff's office in Johnson County and Wayne County. Reason being is because you're gonna be utilized in both counties, both adjacent counties, because it gets tiresome. If you're there 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, you will wear someone out. I mean, the officers are gonna get tired, they're gonna get fatigued. So what they usually do is they utilize SWAT teams from Johnson County and utilize SWAT teams from Wayne County. So that's why we all have to work together so we can work in sync and know what each other's doing. But in the event that something happens, of course, we're gonna be the first ones that arrive on the scene anyway. That's why you normally see so many units that'll flood that area, because it takes that many, depending on how many active shooters you have, whether it's one, whether it's two, where they held up at, I mean, and then depending on the intel that you get, so you just don't know, so you have to be prepared. So that's why you see them at large numbers like that. Is there any questions?
I had a question. I always see it and I always forget to ask, but there's like 3 business check sections, downtown outlying areas, and then one that's just business check. What's that one that's not downtown or outlying?
I'm not sure, because as far as business checks, all of them are business checks. I think they check your business one particular time, and your vehicle was unlocked.
Yeah.
I think he contacted
Yeah, he did.
I'm not sure. I know when you go on police pack, it'll break it down and it'll print it out in a certain type of way. So I'm not really sure why it's that, because it's just a business check, but it's nothing significant like anything occurred there. But all of my business check. It brings the downtown business check and the outlying areas. I'm assuming just the surrounding areas, but I'm not really sure why it's specified that way.
The citation issue, was that a town ordinance violation?
Yes, citation issued, warning though. It wasn't an actual ticket issue. It was a citation issue warning. So it was some type of, I don't know exactly what type of ordinance it was. I am aware of most of the citations that are written, but not each and every one. But
Sure.
From the way it's stated, it was just a warning for some type of ordinance. That could have been anything.
If there's no more questions, thank you, Chief.
Are we having any luck with applicants? Yeah.
Unfortunately not. We are hiring a part-timer, which would help. But of course, it's not a full-time position, and that part-timer is from high level, but we're still advertising. We just haven't had anyone to apply yet. And I've spoken to the school director out there when I was teaching Angel Blizzard, and the class was just, they're small and small. The last class I taught was 11 recruits, and that was it. And Johnson County is the same way. It's just hard. And we're not the only ones that's having to deal with those challenges, but unfortunately, it impacts us more because we're so small. You know, and the larger departments, they do have an impact, but not as bad as us because we just don't have as much personnel to move around and utilize. But we're trying.
And Town of Durham is, I understand, 5 to 10% pay raise for their police officers, and unfortunately, you're seeing a lot of crime in Durham, and there's not enough staffing either. That's part of the.
Durham's issue, and this is what I know, they're lacking a lot of funding for specialized units in certain areas. But you know, a lot of the parks, you know, people are getting mugged. They're having shootings downtown. And pull up to a stoplight, people are shooting inside the car. So a lot of the funding the police department needs, they're not getting. In Goldsboro, they're down like 25 officers. So they're trying to come up with some ways, and salary increase is one of them to see if they can attract more applicants.
You know, sadly, just the direction that the chief has somewhat shifted to with the part-timers, that may be what we actually have to do. And what I'm saying, that may be what we have to do for quite some time. Is and really at this point, that it doesn't matter that much what your starting salary is. People are not putting on uniform.
Well, you know, you got, you know, pretty much you have a consensus where would you go somewhere where you don't have to put your life on the line and make more money or the same amount of money, or would you put on a uniform and get ridiculed by the public? So they're kind of weighing those, you know, and that's just kind of the issue, you know, for right now. As a matter of fact, when Officer 2 came on board, I actually put him in the cops grant spot, which makes it easier, so Marlon and I, we can, you know, still continue the grant without having any interruptions in the grant cycle. So.
Thank you. Fill your pain. Chad, the Beaver Patrol, right?
Yeah, I wish. Good evening. The first thing I got is, I wanted to introduce our new maintenance worker one. This is Matthew Brazel.
Nice to meet you.
I'm gonna get him to, Matt, you wanna tell him things about it?
Yes, I've lived here in Princeton all my life, here between here and Brogan. Went to school at Princeton, graduated in 09, and I got 2 little youngins at home that are a handful, 7 and about to be 7 and 4. And I love him more than anything in this world, and I like working for the town because I've always lived here, and I'm able to spend more time with them now. You know, I was working all the way in Rocky Mount, and it wasn't good. So I thank y'all for the opportunity, and I really appreciate it. So I hope I can, you know, do my part and do a good job for y'all and everyone. So welcome aboard. Thank you.
Well, welcome aboard, and let me just say from my own observation, every time I pass him, that he's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And I even heard Harold say that he was working out there. So.
No,
Yep. Going good.
Yeah. It was nice to meet everybody.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just listen to Harold and you do fine.
Okay. I got it.
50% of the time.
Yeah.
Second of all, this week is actually one of our annual cleanup weeks. We do 2 a year, one in the spring, one in the fall. So this week is our cleanup week. And we've definitely had a lot this morning. You can ask, Matt, we had a lot to come into from the weekend, but, and I've had a few people call me and say they're gonna put miscellaneous stuff out the week, so I think it'll be very, very beneficial, this week. Most time, the fall is always the best one. People, when it's cooled down a little bit, people's getting out.
What is the plan? Just like any specific day or?
Yeah, we pick up every day.
Every day.
Every day this week we're gonna be making rounds. The trucks will be out. So,
Well, we'll go ahead and say you got two commodes that's sitting over in East Chris, so.
boy, they make us nervous.
I don't want my man to get hurt.
We'll get them.
Yeah.
Be careful this time though. And I did want to, did April get a chance to get the sewer, survey in there?
The sewer survey?
The, you know, what we got back from the smoke test. I know she
It
said
was
she.
emailed there.
I think she
Okay,
emailed
okay.
everybody, because
Yeah, I know
it was
she-
60 pages.
Yeah, I know she said she was going to, so I just wanted to, I didn't know if y'all got a chance to look at that or whatever, but there's a lot, we started last week, and we worked on it most of the week, so, there's a lot we got done in there. We ain't got much more, but, you know, other than the big stuff that's in there, obviously, the culverts and all that, which is gonna take some time, but, as far as the clean outs, and, there was a few spots and a few ditches that we've got it fixed, so we're definitely working on that, and we don't like much more, getting what we can, you know, so, definitely bring that to y'all's attention.
What is, we've had a fairly dry September, so what's the capacity at the plant where we,
Yeah, it's running, like I said, our limit's 275,000 gallons a day, and right now we're running anywhere between 115 to 140. It just varies, you know. But like I said, it's dry. It's very dry. So that's probably the actual reasons.
in August, when we had some rainy days, I don't need you to quote me verbatim, but
Yeah.
were we much better than we were
Oh yeah.
in the spring when we got
Much better. And like I said, we have fixed a few spots, with when y'all were on South Pine, and there was a few in that email, that survey y'all got. Actually, there was two in the bottom of the ditch. One, I don't know if, I'm thinking, it's right on, right on the edge of the road, and the road's real narrow. I'm thinking, you know, the bus traffic, passing cars and stuff. I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened, but there was a big busted out hole in main sewer line feeding two apartments. So on the west side of town. So that had a lot to. Like I said, we fixed them two spots, and we've seen very good results from that. And like I said, the dry weather, so it's definitely dropped down some. But like I said, we're averaging anywhere from 115 to 140,000 a day now.
So that's at like 51% capacity or something like that.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's probably a little over halfway.
So now, Marla, so if we send in this number, does that get us off the hook with,
It depends. So we send in the daily numbers every month, so, but we don't send them in to the end of the month. So, last week or week before last, I sent in the report for August. So we won't send in the report for September for another couple of weeks, or 3 weeks actually.
Yeah, it's about
And-
a month behind.
And then they analyze it. But we're under a moratorium because in the calendar year of 2020, we exceeded 90% of our capacity on average. So they won't, we'll be under that moratorium until they get all of the numbers for 2021 and analyze them and see what our average is.
Okay.
But that is certainly a lemon, but maybe lemonade can be made out of the fact we qualify for a grant easier.
Like I said, there's a lot of repairs been made as well. You know, right to that, so it should definitely help. Other than that, that's all I have.
Was Pinecrest before or after moratorium?
Somebody else looked at it.
Pinecrest
They let us do that one.
prepared their application and submitted it to us the week after we got the letter about the moratorium. And so the state had said for Pinecrest to go ahead and submit their application, and they felt like with the repair we done on South Pine Street, they could go ahead and issue that permit because you don't automatically start getting that flow. And so we haven't received it yet, but we're supposed to get it any day that they can put in those lines. And so until we're out from under the moratorium, it's still gonna be a case-by-case basis.
And Chad, I knew there was something, I was gonna ask you, because that I see we had to take another pump and get it rebuilt. I mean, and look like every month we got a pump to be rebuilt.
Yeah, they, the one that we have actually have at the shop now, yeah, I should have bring that to y'all, is, I don't know exactly if it's gonna have to be rebuilt. I don't know exactly what's going on with it. We went to the station and it's like a dead shorted. So if they can find that short, they may not have to rebuild it. You go and throw the power to it and it just pop the breaker, go to arcing. So I'm not sure exactly what, what exactly is going on with that. And I haven't heard nothing from the motor shop. I don't know. But I know he's gonna have to go in the head of it because there's a dead short in it somewhere. And, but yeah.
So now since you took that one down, what do you have, like a spare pump or something that you put in there?
No, it was actually the station across 70, so we don't have very much on that station at this time. We got the strip mall there with Andy's and Johnny's place, the Handy Mart. So it's kind of a low flow station, and it's very low at night. Actually nothing going to it at night. So one pump can handle it very well. We have backup pumps for our wastewater treatment plant, and it's actually interchangeable with Edward Street, which is a high flow station for us. But our other stations, we typically, by the time we get in the time frame we got a pump going, we can hold on. So,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Is there anything we could do about, at Comco, when they mentioned that, that the entrance and exit has that median, and the exit is a little wider, and you get a lot of people think that they should just turn in that side,
Go in right there.
and that is not the proper way to go in.
Yeah, I don't even know really why.
Is there anything that we could do to force them to put arrows or a sign or something? This old man almost hit me the other day, so I said, we almost had to fight. Because
I don't even know. It almost seems like it would be better without the median there.
Mhm.
I mean, just
But
make one.
what happened when they designed all that is they drew the median and the DOT approved the median.
Mhm.
And they tried to get away without putting the median in, and
They
the
might.
DOT said, put the median in.
But the fact that it's not marked either side, it does kind of look like left goes to the, Highway 55 and right goes to the Handy Mart.
It's almost
But
opposite.
it's not meant to be that way. And I don't know, it was about an inch from getting hit the other day.
It definitely seems
I
like-
think it's definitely should be a DOT question, because they approved that driveway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Okay.
gonna get at least some paint or something, an arrow or enter, exit, something.
Do you have a contact you could make a call?
Yeah, I do. I can call the
Okay, that'd be great.
engineer and see if he, see what he said. I'll call him tomorrow about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next is a resolution directing the clerk to investigate a petition received under GS 160A-31, and this is request for annexation by the Princeton Church of God. And I'll turn it over to April.
I received a request from the Church of God last Monday, and this is to start the petition, and I need it approved so I can go forward to the next step. We will hold a public meeting. And this property, I believe I gave you a map, is right beside where their existing church is, and to the west side. And they're gonna be doing construction. I'm believing in a new sanctuary, but that was not
That's right.
listed on the,
Now, was that farm area?
Yeah, between there and
Yes,
J&R
yes.
Acres, that cornfield.
right.
Between that little subdivision and the church.
Mhm.
And they are interested in sewer service for that for the new sanctuary, if and when we can get it to it. So is there the current church is in the city limits, that would fall under our zoning rules if they're in town, which are a little bit different than the county rules.
Right.
So is there a motion to move forward?
What are they requesting it for?
Because they want the new sanctuary to also be inside the city limits, just like the old is. Then I'm sure that that's what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It would give them police protection as well.
Is there any other additional cost to the town other than the police having to respond there? I mean, is there any cost?
There's a little bit of cost in the actual annexation process for advertising and legal review. But it's minimal. We've never charged for annexation. And I think that the long-range plans for this property are to do some type of development. And so while the church sanctuary is not taxable, if they did any other development that earned income, it would be taxable. But what it helps them do is to use more property for development and not have to allocate property for stormwater runoff under the county rules, which are pretty expensive.
If there's no further discussion, then I'll make the motion that we vote to allow the clerk to investigate the petition further. I mean, that we're not saying that we'll do it, we're just giving her permission to investigate. So.
Motion's been made by Mayor Pro Tem Martin. Is there a second?
There's
A second by Commissioner Brown. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion is unanimous. Next is a amendment
That's the original, if it'll sound pretty.
to reorganize the planning board, and it is basically, the statute has changed, but I'll let
Right. This
April go forward.
goes along with the chapter 160D. We've already approved this. This is just the policy for the planning board. So we need to adopt it, so it'll be on file that it's been adopted.
I'll make the motion that we adopt the amendment.
Motion's been made by Mayor Pro Tem Martin. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Brown. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion is approved. Item number 11 is tabled at this point because we want to make sure we get a liability policy would take care of any exposure from the fire department or hold harmless agreement, and that language should be worked out in the next 30 days, Marla?
Yes.
Okay. And number 12 is April, and I talked last week, and she's got some good news for you, and then she'll go into the request.
Yes. We are going to have our Christmas parade this year. We're very excited about that. We have a meeting scheduled for Thursday night to organize, and we're excited to be able to have the Christmas parade. We've not been able to do fundraisers the past few years simply because of attendance and the dedication of women, but we've got a whole new growth people in town, and I've had several emails through the Facebook page that I have, so we're hoping to reorganize and start up again and start having fundraisers and start participating in the town and doing things. But we were down to where 5 people were doing the parade and the craft fair that we were having. And it takes 10 people in the building just to do the craft fair, and then we were spread thin. And then I voluntold Marla and Miss Lee, so they have graciously been helping me the past few years, and we received the sleigh that Santa rides in to the town that was donated by Mr. Robbins, who used to own Robbins Nest. They gave it to the Women's Club and the town to use in the Christmas parade, and allowing any other town that would like to use it, they could also use it. We used a lot of our funds when we first received that to repair and replace the items that were on the sleigh. And since then, we have sent flowers to past members that passed away or direct family members, and our funds have depleted. And on behalf of the Princeton Women's Improvement Club, I'm asking the board to consider a contribution of $1,000 to help us put the parade on and to continue the organization. And the ladies that are in it, we really enjoy it and love it, and it was started by our mothers, and we want to continue and to have the parade. The parade is huge. For a little teeny town, we've always had, we say it lasts about 45, you go through the parade in about less than 10 minutes, but it lasts 45 minutes. So that's a pretty good parade for a little teeny town like Princeton. So we've always been real proud of our parade. But we want to start being involved in different things in the town that we've got to reorganize. The other thing is this year we're going to have the Grand Marshal as the first responders in town, and that would be our police department and our maintenance department, and fire department will also invite the rescue, thank you. I was trying to come up with EMS and it wouldn't come out. But we're hoping it'll be a big event, but we're gonna put them in the front, and then we'll have our guests in where they normally are. No, I'm kidding. We'll meet Thursday night and decide how we're gonna line up the parade and everything, but we're very excited. And if anyone knows of the new band leader, if you could speak with him, I've emailed him and called, and I know he's trying to get oriented and used to everything, but I really would like to know our band.
That I'll see him tomorrow,
I'm sorry.
You'll see him tomorrow. You'll see him tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, how wonderful. Wonderful. Just plug the Christmas parade, and I'll try to continue to get with them. I just haven't gone to the school to introduce myself, so That would be wonderful if you could just
Okay.
plug the Christmas parade.
Cause I give him your number.
Give me what?
He'll give him your number.
Oh, that would be great. I'm sorry, I can hear, but I do better when I
Right.
say lips. I'm sorry.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I make the, motion that we, do donate, to this cause. That we know that the townspeople for years care deeply about the, Christmas parade. And we're thankful for the work that the, Princeton Women's Improvement Club have done over the years.
There's been a motion made to approve a $1,000 donation to the Princeton Women's Improvement Club. Is there a second to that motion?
I would offer a second, just contingent on knowing where we're funding it out of, which pot. Is it just general fund?
We run a general fund,
Okay.
under miscellaneous, and which we have a little bit of miscellaneous money already there.
All right.
But if we spend more than we budgeted, we would allocate it from contingency.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, and if we, this might be an item we want to put on our special donations next year's calendar.
Thank you very much.
We certainly missed the Christmas parade
Mhm.
last year, and Walter did not have his normal candy.
Reese's Cups.
And look, Miss April, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, you like lost your job.
What candy did you not get?
Again, it's called Reese's Cups.
I'll make sure you have some.
Okay, I don't think there's any other business, except item number 14 that might have to do with item 13. So we're going to be discussing the purchase of the Kenny Woodard property. And is there a motion to go into closed session?
There it is. Well, you don't want to take a 5-minute break first?
We can take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Well, let's go through the motion, we take a break, and then we come back in. Okay. There's a motion made by Commissioner Rob. Tell me when you're ready.
You good now?
Okay. We just moved out of our closed session discussing an option to purchase property adjacent to the community building, and Commissioner Rose does have a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we proceed with the option to purchase the Kennywood property.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robinson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes 3-1. And item number 14 is consider next step to improve downtown traffic, parking, and sidewalks. That presentation was at the last meeting, and in my opinion, it was contingent on what we did with the community building property, but it's not necessarily tied with it, but it's part of the vision for downtown. Do we need to go over that again, or is it, there's, the consultant is charging $14,000?
It's in the neighborhood of 14,000.
That would either, that would come out of ARP money, or if we get infrastructure money somewhere else, it would come out of that, right?
It wouldn't come out of ARP money. It would, we could do Powell bill or general fund. And then, of course, if we pursued funding, we could, especially if we pursued grant funding, we could include this fee in the budget to get reimbursed, which we've done with our, all of our drainage projects so far that have been funded. We've been reimbursed for our study costs. The fee is $14,710.80. And if you remember, it was taking the vision from our land use plan and evaluating feasibility and get some initial costs, as well as identifying funding sources.
But there were proposal of 2 to 3 roundabouts, one-way street from the school down Center Street to Edward Street, a proposed roundabout on Edward Street, and
then parking, bicycle, and pedestrian travel as well.
It'd be good for Harold, right?
All of downtown.
Is it, like, is it just like renderings, or is it actual, like, usable drawings to actually do things?
It'd be renderings, it's not design, it's concept.
Okay.
So it's basically the same as the architect things. So it's feasibility, concept, opinion of cost. And then the next step, would, if you want to move forward, would be design. But a lot of times if you get this far with the opinion of cost, that's where you can go out and get funding and your design is paid for and your project funding. It's not something you're fronting.
It will be in this year's budget money?
Yes.
Well, is there plenty to do it? If we, you said it would come out of Power Bill probably?
Yes.
And how much is in Power Bill?
We have about $90,000 in reserve funds, and then we're going to receive about 36 or 37 more this year.
And it's gonna cost how much?
$14,710.
And this person will do studies as far as whether we need roundabouts and different walkways and spaces, and we'll use whatever he comes up with to try to find funding for whatever is proposed.
Yes. That you want to pursue.
And this is designed to help, like, ease traffic congestion, like the morning
Yes.
problems we're having and that kind of stuff.
Yes, like I said, what was in the land use plan, those visions for traffic in downtown
Mhm.
that were incorporated in there, it's actually this is the very next step. You envision a roundabout here, what will it take to get it there? Is it feasible for a roundabout to be there? What would it look like?
Downtown Goldsboro did a similar project that cost millions of dollars a few years ago, but it was totally grant funded. And the streets of downtown Goldsboro, at least Center Street, looks beautiful, and there is retail coming back to downtown Goldsboro. In my opinion, not as fast as it needs to be, but
They
it's
did a
still,
lot of work down there,
Mhm.
a lot of work.
it looks awesome.
Well, my wife and I go down there, I wouldn't say quite often, but we go down to examine, what's down there. We've been, downtown Clayton, and, I mean, because that's basically where I, talked about, downtown dining and whatnot, maybe about a year or two ago, because we went to those places. I'm not, to me, this is a stretch. Because we are talking about having this person come in, and to me, that person basically have one, traffic issue, and that involves the school. And it involves parents dropping off their kids and picking them up in the evening time, and that there's just not room to do the things that you need to do. And so, other than that particular issue, that I really would have no idea what value that the study would do.
Well, it's more of a vision, but we're having traffic problems everywhere. If you're leaving on Pearl Street going to Donnie Jones Boulevard, during school times, it's taken me 10 minutes to get across Donnie Jones Boulevard. And even not during school times, there is traffic issues downtown and on Pine Street and on Pearl Street. People are not stopping at stop signs downtown. There is congestion at various places. Now, some of that is good because businesses are down there, but to look at roundabouts, to look at ways to change traffic patterns. I will go back to things I said earlier. It gives a new vision to Donnie Jones Boulevard. It gives a new vision to downtown.
These aren't the same people who came up with the pottery stuff, are they? So we don't want them.
That'd be a non-starter.
You go around that traffic circle, you wind up the same place you were before.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's lost on that road. Turnouts into the bushes. And what is the scope of the geographical area again? Like how many streets and blocks and everything?
Did you take it away from him? No, with that.
You'll make another copy for everybody that it's.
Well, everybody should have 2 copies. The one April gave them last month and the whole study.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Dr. Jones Boulevard from Elm Street down to past Pearl, or right there at Pearl, and then all of the business improvement district is what they would be looking at.
Okay.
This, just like it's laid out here, they would evaluate all of this and see how feasible it is and put together a preliminary cost opinion and including pedestrian and bicycle
Streets
traffic.
and sides.
Mhm.
If you're going south on Pearl Street and people are trying to pull onto Bartholomew Drive, they're pulling right in front. I mean, that is an ideal case for a roundabout. But you know.
Well, not to mention you got a bunch of young drivers going out there too.
Mm-hmm.
And that can go on to 8, 9 o'clock at night when there's school activities going on.
Oh, we about got took out by one of them. She just pulled right out.
Mm-hmm.
And that included on-street parking too.
I think it's something we definitely need. I think everybody's probably a little gun shy of spending a lot more money tonight. I think that's the only thing.
Well, I think the question is, do we need it right now?
Does it tie into anything else that we're doing with the digging up the streets for drainage or doing the, you know?
Well, when we first started talking about drainage and we were talking about options to fund it and where we would get the money from before we expanded our study and came up with $3 million worth of drainage projects, we're talking about the fact that we have streets in town that haven't been paved in 30 years, and we don't have money in the bank to do that. And so, with all the infrastructure money that we feel like's coming out in the coming year, this would be a really good project, I think, that we could show need for just improving our streets in general and not having the resources to do it, plus the any economic benefit, because we have the downtown business improvement district, and that just gives us a leg up on any funding we ask for because we have identified this as an area of greater need. So I think that we could put some regular street pavement and some street improvements together to qualify for additional grant funding. That this is the time that, and when they say infrastructure for ARPA funds, the majority of it's water, sewer, stormwater. The other infrastructure bill has got streets and roads and sidewalks and elements for economic development, which I can think you can make cases for all of those things with this kind of project.
Well, the administrator does have a way of turning a dollar into 10, but I know a lot of us walk around town time to time, and I would love to see some marked crosswalks, like there at Edwards and right there at the railroad tracks. There's a major pedestrian. I mean, there's a lot of people that walk that area and nothing's marked. There's not even a stop line on the road for cars, and you almost get run over when you're just trying to walk across, even though you got the right of way. I'd love to see walk spaces marked properly. I'd like to see, I guess part of that was looking at potential one-way streets for additional parking and stuff downtown. I don't know. I mean, I know we need to do something. I guess it's a matter of whether we. Yeah, it feels like we always have to do a study, and studies might cost a lot of money. But I do feel like it's something that the town is growing. I feel like, I don't know if you guys get out and talk to people from other towns in the county, but people will say Princeton's a hot spot. Princeton's growing, and I just think this is something that would kind of keep us ahead of the curve.
The other end of the table.
Honestly, I kind of agree. It could be, potentially a big piece of change to spend that we may or may not decide that we need. But still, I guess at the end of the day, to be able to say that, hey, we have this in place that if need be, we need to go ahead on and do it, then, hey, let's do what we need to do.
Well, I think that we definitely need to know that we need it. If we don't feel like it's something necessary, then we don't do it. But if it's something.
And I have a point that I need to make, if you don't mind, I'm jumping in real quick. There's been some discussion about the money we spent getting Duke to evaluate underground power for that block, and we ended up not moving forward with that, and we lost that money. But about the same time we were having that discussion, we were having a discussion about our first drainage study, which was about $5,000. And I've been on the bus the whole time, and have drug each one of you along with me till we all finally got on the bus. But I didn't take $1 and turn it into 10. I took $1 and I turned it into 300.
Mm-hmm.
Because that $5,000 study got us $1.5 million from Golden Leaf for those two drainage projects we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And there's another problem out there. It's just like the architect for community building, the engineer, you got to get in line with those folks because they're busy. So if we don't make a commitment, and I'm not saying this is the right firm, but if we don't make a commitment, it could be years before we get somebody to actually do the work.
And I would ask everybody, as a commissioner, do you hear your constituents asking you about poor quality streets and what you're going to do to improve the streets and the potholes? And I hear that a lot. So I
hear it every time I drive down Princeton.
Yeah, so to me, maybe this is the step maybe that we take to.
But no, that's not what the study does, though.
Well, it identifies it's going to identify what we can do to improve downtown, and then we can take those plans as well as our plans to pave, just flat out pave other streets and combine them together into a fundable project.
So we could possibly get two for the price of one, is what you're saying.
Right.
And I kind of look at this like that I kind of, whenever you think of the traffic problem along Donnie Jones Boulevard. And it's because of the school. And so what is it that he might be able to suggest to ease your travel load? And I've got an idea of what one of his proposals will probably be to ease the travel along Pine Street. And that's something that I think that won't happen because I'm thinking that the recommendation will be to build a lane which is going to take, because you aren't going to take in any of the school property, that it'd be on the other side of the street. And so one of the things I ask is that even if you do it, does this board have the fortitude to follow through? Because if you don't have the backbone to follow through, you ought to leave it alone.
Well, I would concur with your statement.
Wait a minute, let me stop you right quick and take and remind you of one thing. You don't vote unless it's a tie.
But we all have opinions, so we're not voting at this point. But what I'm generally saying is a study, even if you change the study or alter the study, you can take that study and get grants or apply for assistance. If we had not done studies for flood mitigation, we would be at ground zero in terms of county money or state money or ARP money. So this study can have rewards. And I'm not voting because I think I don't think I need to vote.
and I'm probably just about labor like if he had to.
So is there any further discussion?
Because I've been ready to vote about 10 minutes ago.
Okay, is there a motion to move forward?
There is.
Okay. Is there a motion made by Scotty Brown? Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry.
What is your motion there?
We move forward on this study.
And is there a second?
That's it.
Motion seconded by Mike Rose. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes 3-1. Okay? And I didn't have to vote. All right. I don't see any other business unless someone has anything else to bring up.
The only thing is the books that I provided for you. I realized last time I copied, that was not the final copy. I've had 4 final copies. This is, without a doubt, the final copy, and I included a map in there for you. I apologize for that, but that is, and I also put in your packet to replace a couple of pages in the personnel policy. That is the payroll rate chart for this year.
Okay.
And that was in your packet. Let me see. I believe.
And there's something here about public works, solid waste, water?
I was about to tell you about that. We were talking about the construction materials that were behind the business on Edward Street last meeting. And and we already have it covered in our, solid waste ordinance, section 50.03D. The town shall not collect any construction materials left by a contractor. It shall be the sole responsibility of the contractor and/or owner to properly dispose of any waste materials.
What kind of teeth do we have to that?
It has to be reported to the
It would
town.
be a citation, like $50 a day per violation.
Okay.
So $50 per violation, and then you can be cited every day you're in violation.
Okay.
But there's some things in here that you have, once you're notified, you have a period of time to rectify. If they're just there and they're not qualified for us to pick them up. That you have to, once you have been, if you weren't aware and you're advised that you have to get rid of it, you have a certain period of time, and then we will come in there and get it, but there's a huge fine for it.
How huge?
So that's all.
Hold on. I was just there a second ago.
$1.5 million.
It was there for more than 7 days. There's a $50 administrative fee plus the cost of, picking up, including but not limited to manpower, equipment, vehicles, landfill fees, and the like, to remove and properly dispose of non-conforming materials.
So would y'all go and figure all that up and then charge them? Or is it gonna be a fixed deal average of what it costs to dispose of some total? Or
Well,
whatever
I
it
mean,
is?
most of the time, if we don't already pick it up, it's because we don't have the capacity to, so we'd actually have to hire somebody to do it. So it'd be a $50 administrative fee plus whatever it costs us to hire someone
Oh, okay. So that'd be
to
a
dispose of
factor.
it, and then we would add it to their utility bill.
Yeah, we just tell them we don't pick it up, and if we, and fine them if they, et cetera.
Other business, whatever came of our investigation as to the access to US 70 through the personal portal?
Oh. Over on the pond.
Yeah.
That's a private matter between DOT and the landowner. They've got permission to do that for maintenance purposes.
For maintenance purposes?
For maintaining them that path and them in that grass and stuff.
On a personal note, I would like to say thank you for everybody's thoughts and prayers. My son came home two weeks ago today, and that was a happy time. He finally made it home from Afghanistan.
That's great.
Right.
And I kept Mike from visiting with him one afternoon, because we had to go somewhere.
Yeah, he's doing good.
Yeah. With all that, I think Scotty has a motion.
There he is. Second.
All in favor, raise your hand.
All right.
Do we have anybody online?